Yeah, and I think that what you're describing is the process that we all went through because you don't wanna even go down that route. You're like, maybe it's
Totally.
this. Maybe in my head, I was like, maybe she's being blackmailed. Maybe she's scared they're gonna kill her. Maybe,
Mhm.
like you said, she just wants a quick conclusion to all of this. Maybe she's still in shell shock and is actually not controlling anything at Turning Point, was my initial suspicion. And just on paper, she's CEO, but she's actually just home crying every day and, like, behind the scenes, like, Tyler or
Yeah.
Justin. I
That's
mean,
what
I
I
went through
thought
that
at
whole
first.
thing, and for me, I never wanted to arrive at Erica being suspicious. I abstained from the, like, "Oh, she's wearing hot pants with JD Vance." None of that matters to me,
Yeah, I agree.
because I don't think people understand.
Over the past 9 months, some seriously disturbing patterns have surfaced about how Erica, Kirk, and TPUSA allegedly turned tragedy into a money-making machine. But the strategy uncovered just days after the UVA event? That one hits different, and apparently, it's still happening. Erica Kirk used one of her late husband's personal love letters in a fundraising email to pull on donor heartstrings. And before anyone thinks this is new behavior, it's not. Candace Owens exposed the contents of this email, and people had mixed reactions. Some came for Candace, not realizing Erica had pulled a nearly identical move just 2 weeks after September 10th. Candace, who admitted she was grieving and chose to give Erica the benefit of the doubt back then, had actually defended her. Here's what Candace posted on X.
I needed it as a part of my grieving process not to accept that plausibility, because then for me, beyond just having lost Charlie and having to wake up to that, I then had to wake up to the idea that Trump betrayed him in a way, and Kash Patel, everyone is betraying him and not seeking more investigation. What I had to go through to pursue that, I had to grieve again, right? Because
Mhm.
I knew how much Charlie wanted love. Like,
Mhm.
I have these messages. Like, I was helping Charlie draft text messages and what should I say? So I had to grieve again and
Mhm.
go, okay, I
Mhm.
need to, like, really just follow the facts here. And that's all I've done. And it's landed me at she's remarkably suspicious, not because of the way she dresses, not because of whether or not she's crying enough. All of that kind of paints a picture that makes people uncomfortable, but just objective
Yeah.
lies that I can't comprehend. Why would you lie and tell the public? And I think for me, the most explosive one that no one wants to address by calling me a monster. Why would you lie and say that the surgeon told you or told Andrew that
Mhm.
he had a Superman neck and all of this stuff that objectively did not come from the surgeon? It came from Erica. And why would you lie and tell me that Andrew went rogue and sent that message when you did it with?
Sharing private letters from your late husband for the express purpose of fundraising is as tasteless as it is classless, and I am without patience for those pretending otherwise. There is nothing beautiful about this. It is shameless emotional manipulation for money, made worse by the fact that these emails are not even authored by her. Now here's the email itself. What I wouldn't give for one more love letter from Charlie. One more handwritten note left beside my coffee before he rushed out the door. One more folded piece of paper on my pillow before he had an early flight. One more moment where he intentionally set aside the noise of the world just to remind me that I was loved. It goes on. About this time last year, Charlie and I sat together on stage at the Women's Leadership Summit. And by the way, that summit is coming up, which is almost certainly why this email landed in inboxes right now. Convenient timing. Somewhere during that conversation, I mentioned the notes he would write to me. He would write them whenever he honored the Sabbath. He never missed one. Sometimes they were only a few sentences, but they carried such deep reverence. He'd hand me words that felt sacred. I saved every single one. Then comes the pitch. Erica Kirk, CEO and chair.
I do also want to address people who are inundating me speaking about Erica Kirk. And I think the reason why this was catalyzed was because of a fundraising email and text messages went out, and people found it to be distasteful and like a fundraising off of his death. Okay, first and foremost, the reason why I said, and I meant it genuinely, was to pray for Erica a couple of days ago. And I said she is stepping into a role as CEO and the chairman of a company that got bigger than Charlie by everything that I am understanding, and just having been there, I saw it happening, and a company that she's going to have to learn in 4 seconds how this whole thing's, it is a machine, okay? those emails that you saw or checked, that was not written by Erica Kirk. That will be an entire department. And these are emails when you fundraise. I've had fundraising emails go out with my face and my name on them.
Turning Point USA. Support Turning Point USA. Click here. And the PS? I read all of Charlie's love letters even slower now. We were never promised grey hair and rocking chairs. Click here to donate. A touching sentiment wrapped around a donation button. Many people missed exactly what Candace was calling out, but the message was clear. This was an emotional play designed to open wallets. Blake Neff could not keep quiet after Candace's post, and what he said next threw fuel straight into the fire. Neff fired back at Candace on her post, saying, "Nobody has profiteered more off of Charlie's passing than you have, Candace, and you share plenty of Charlie's private communications with you. But there are a few important differences. You are not Charlie's wife. Your messages tend to be from half a decade ago or more. I wonder why. You love referring to dates he went on and women he knew prior to Erica. There is very clearly no reason to do this except trying to humiliate Erica, and you were doing this even before you started accusing her of helping with what happened to Charlie. You do all of this to profit yourself. Turning Point needs to raise money. It does that because it actually does things. It puts on multiple conferences a year. It organizes campus events and faith events. TP Action employs literally hundreds of people for ballot-chasing efforts in swing states. You've never done anything remotely comparable. And you couldn't, because you have neither the talent nor the selflessness to do it. All you have is the narcissism to think that what Charlie built should have been handed over to you for free. Wait, did he just accidentally admit the email was sent to raise money for TPUSA? Because that's exactly what slipped out. Turning Point needs to raise money. It does that because it actually does things. So the love letters, the grief, the emotional appeals, all of it was to fund operations. He said it himself. And if anyone thought Candace was going to let that slide, they were wrong. She came back swinging. The audacity. I know you ghostwrite for Erica part-time, so you're feeling personally attacked, but you are truly out of your mind to ever accuse anyone of making money off of Charlie Kirk.
They are not authored by Erica Kirk, and I want you guys to know that, right? I just think it's like, I don't know, it just feels so unfair to me to assign the amount of pressure that is on her right now. She has not come out and said anything to me that makes her suspicious, because I understand how that organ works. And I understand how people, when they are motivated by money, how they don't even think about these things. It can be so gross. I mean, I have really gotten into arguments with people when I felt that they were using my face and representing things, and I was getting pushback from the public. And I'm like, I would have never done this. I would have never made that decision. And yet I'm going to be the person that gets all the flack for the decision that you made. I've had those arguments. And so when I see this go out, irrespective of how you feel, you should know that those decisions are not made by Erica. That's what it means to step into a company of that size and that scale, okay? Their focus is going to be something different. And she has had, I think, a tremendous amount of grace in the speech that she gave, which I felt was very inspiring. And we should similarly have grace, give her time to get her, first and foremost.
You raised over $250 million in Q4 of last year by shamelessly selling every piece of Charlie, inclusive of a recreated tent of his passing scene for selfies. Let that sink in. A recreated scene for selfies. For donations, Candace continued, everything you share includes a donation link, and none of it is done in the spirit of trying to figure out what really happened to Charlie. No, that part is of zero interest to you for some reason. You callous losers wanted the investigation over since Erica uttered, "I forgive him." Remarkably, it seems the only item you're unwilling to put out for public consumption is the alleged video of Charlie handing over the reins of the company to her, reversing course on every public statement he ever made about women climbing the corporate ladder. The contradictions just keep piling up. Candace wasn't done, not even close. She closed out with this. You have all of DC lined up to protect you, and the world sees right through it. From the bottom of my heart, I want you to know something. You guys will not get away with what you've done to Charlie and his legacy. You will fast learn that money and all of this swamp are powerless in a match against truth. Then she went straight at one of the most recycled lines being thrown around online, the idea that Candace is only speaking out because she's jealous that Charlie didn't choose her. She addressed it directly. Lastly, the "you're not his wife" talking point, in case you haven't figured out, it has completely failed. In fact, it reflects poorly on Erica. Yes, Candace Owens, Baron Coleman, and millions of other people around the world are not Charlie's wife. That is precisely why the public is disturbed, because people who are not his wife have, from the very beginning, expressed more interest in determining who the hell did this to Charlie Kirk. You should dig deep for a talking point that doesn't further shine a spotlight on why the public fervently rejects the performance of his actual wife. Hope this helps.
The adjustment in her life, she is a mother, first and foremost, right? This is what she was doing. She was a mom, and Charlie was on the road, and these were Charlie's concerns. You know, men carry the weight of the world on their shoulders, and they were following that. This was a faithful couple. This is a woman who consulted a priest and prayed when she felt that somebody had put a hex on her husband. And I just think everyone is being a little unfair by trying to assign so much ill will towards someone who hasn't done anything to warrant that. And I would have been the first person. If I felt that anything was there, I would have said something. Truly, in every capacity. And of course, I'm not in their marriage, but I know that Charlie was very happy with Erica. And I know that Erica was a reason. She was, pushing Charlie, as women do, to really think through his ideas and think through what it was that he believed in one way or the other.
Loser, do not poke the dragon ever. But here's what people forget. Candace was once Erica's loudest defender. She praised her speeches, spoke highly of her publicly, and genuinely wanted to believe the grief was real. It took a specific moment the second Erica was caught in a lie for everything to shift. The pink glasses came off, and there was no going back. The signs were there from the very start. Nick Fuentes was actually one of the first to call it out, posting a screenshot of an early email with the subject line, "Here I am, Lord. I will carry Charlie's torch." The email opened with, "Patriot, I don't know how else to begin except with this. I miss him. Every breath, every heartbeat, every memory I now replay in my mind, I miss him." And yes, a donation link was right there alongside it. That screenshot was posted September 23rd, meaning the email likely went out just days after the tragedy. The Widow PR strategy was running at full speed from the jump, and most people clocked it immediately. Candace just needed more time to accept what was right in front of her. What makes it even harder to stomach? While Candace was publicly defending Erica and saying kind things about her, Erica was allegedly on Zoom calls laughing about merch sales selling replicas of the very shirt Charlie was wearing when he passed. If Candace had known that then, this would have been over a whole lot sooner. And here we are today, the same playbook, still running. Intimate letters, grief content, emotional storytelling, all roads leading to a donate button. 9 months ago, there was room to give the benefit of the doubt. That window is closed! This isn't fresh grief anymore, and it's not some rogue team hitting send on emails without Erica's knowledge. She is the CEO. The messaging gets approved at the top, and the top is her. At some point, you have to stop pointing fingers at the staff and start looking at the person sitting in the corner office. Let's be real about what we're actually looking at here. This is not a grieving widow who accidentally let her personal pain spill into a company newsletter. This is a calculated, consistent pattern that has been running for months, and the more time passes, the harder it becomes to frame it as anything other than a deliberate strategy. The love letters, the emotional storytelling, the deeply personal grief on full display, all roads lead to the same destination, a donation link. Think about the timeline for a second. Within days of the tragedy, emails were already going out. Not weeks later when the dust had settled days. The subject lines were dramatic, the language was intimate, and the donate button was never more than a scroll away. That's not grief spilling out accidentally. That's a content calendar with a very specific goal, and it didn't stop there. Month after month, the same formula kept showing up in donor inboxes. A personal story, a vulnerable moment, a reminder of what was lost, and then click here. The consistency alone tells you everything you need to know about whether this was intentional or not. Grief doesn't follow a marketing schedule. Fundraising campaigns do. Now, let's talk about what makes this particular email so much harder to dismiss than the ones that came before it. Previous emails could at least be loosely defended as Erica processing her loss in a public-facing role. Painful to watch, maybe, but somewhat explainable. But sharing handwritten love letters, private, intimate notes that Charlie wrote during his most sacred personal moments and attaching a donation link to them, that crosses into completely different territory. These weren't public statements. These weren't speeches Charlie gave on stage. These were letters he wrote in quiet moments, setting aside everything else just to express love to his wife. And now those same letters are being used as fundraising copy. The man can't speak for himself anymore, and the words he left behind in his most private moments are being deployed to keep the money flowing into an organization he built. Candace Owens was right when she said these emails aren't even authored by Erica herself, meaning someone on staff or someone close to the operation is crafting this messaging. So not only are Charlie's private words being used for fundraising, they're being filtered through a ghostwriter first. Blake Neff basically confirmed this dynamic without realizing what he was admitting. When he said Turning Point needs to raise money, it does that because it actually does things. He wasn't defending Erica's grief. He was defending a fundraising strategy. He accidentally pulled the curtain back and showed everyone exactly what this is. And speaking of Blake Neff, his response to Candace's post was one of the most revealing moments in this entire saga. Instead of addressing the actual concern that private love letters were being weaponized for donations, he went straight into attack mode. He went after Candace's credibility, her motivations, her relationship with Charlie, everything except the actual point she was making. That's not a defense, that's a deflection. And deflection only works when you don't have a real answer. Let's also not gloss over the detail that Candace pointed out about the tent. A recreated scene set up for photo opportunities and selfies tied to fundraising efforts. That image alone should have been the moment everyone stopped and said something is deeply wrong here. The fact that it didn't cause a bigger public reckoning says a lot about how normalized this kind of grief exploitation has become in certain circles. But normalization doesn't make it right. The widow strategy, as it's been called, was visible from the very first email. Nick Fuentes clocked it on September 23rd when he posted that screenshot and said simply, "This is disgusting." He didn't need a 9-month investigation to see what was happening. The subject line alone, "Here I am, Lord. I will carry Charlie's torch," combined with a donation link, said everything. But because grief is such a powerful emotional shield, anyone who questioned it early got labeled heartless or jealous or politically motivated. That's the genius of the strategy, and it's also what makes it so troubling. Grief is one of the most universally respected human experiences. Nobody wants to be the person who looks at a widow and says something is off here. The social cost of being wrong is enormous, so most people stayed quiet, gave the benefit of the doubt, and kept donating. And the ones who did speak up, like Nick Fuentes early on, and later Candace Owens, got absolutely buried in backlash. Candace herself admitted she needed to believe Erica was good during that early period. She was grieving too, in her own way, and she wanted the situation to be what it appeared to be on the surface. That's a very human response. But what she described the moment Erica was caught in a lie and the pink glasses came off, that's also a very human response. And once you see it, you genuinely cannot unsee it. The detail that stings the most? While Candace was publicly defending Erica, saying kind things about her, and genuinely trying to give her grace, Erica was allegedly on Zoom calls laughing about merch numbers, selling t-shirt replicas of the shirt Charlie was wearing when he passed. That image is almost impossible to sit with. And yet here we are, still watching the same machine operate at full speed months later. What's particularly telling is what they reportedly refused to release. According to Candace, there is allegedly a video of Charlie handing over control of the organization. A video that would contradict everything he ever said publicly about his views on women in corporate leadership. That video, if it exists, stays locked away. But the love letters? Those go straight into the fundraising emails. The selective use of Charlie's private moments, sharing what helps the narrative, hiding what doesn't, is perhaps the most damning detail of all. At this point, the question isn't whether the pattern exists. The pattern is documented, time-stamped, and consistent across 9 months of behavior. The real question is what it says about the people running this operation and what they believe their donor base will accept. And based on the fundraising numbers, it's working. People are still clicking the donate button. The emotional appeals are still landing. But here's the thing about truth. It has a longer shelf life than strategy. Strategies get exposed, patterns get documented, screenshots get saved. And audiences, once they see through something, don't go back to being blind. The public conversation around this has shifted dramatically even in the last few weeks, and that shift is only going to continue as more information surfaces. This isn't about jealousy. It isn't about politics. It isn't about who Charlie chose or didn't choose. It's about a man who built something significant, left behind private words of love for his wife, and whether those words deserve more respect than being turned into fundraising copy regardless of who authorized it. Erica Kirk is the CEO. The buck stops with her. And 9 months in, with the same strategy still running, the idea that this is anything other than an approved, intentional approach simply does not hold up anymore. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you find it distasteful that these fundraising emails are being built around love letters and personal grief? Or do you think she has every right to share her story this way, even tied to donations? Drop everything you're thinking in the comments. This conversation deserves to be loud. If this video hit different for you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe if you haven't yet, turn on notifications, and don't miss what's coming next, because this story is far from over. See you in the next one.